All right, I'm going to call this meeting to order, and we have an addition to our agenda. And that is an amendment to the 2016 grand list that we're going to consider under new business. And with that, we have the minutes of November 9th and the 16th.
I would move approval of the minutes from November 9th.
I will second that motion.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll move that we approve the minutes from our budget work session on November 16th.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we have review and approve bills for payment. We have warrant 11, warrant 11P, which includes the hours for our interim select board assistant. We have the rec board number 4 and the capital fund number 3.
I'll move we approve for payment warrant 11, 11P, RB number 4, and capital fund number 3.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? Warrant 11 is for $14,644. That includes fuel for the highway department, premiums to Blue Cross Blue Shield, a Fisher & Fisher bill of $569 that covers consultation on tax sale, a tax issue, and our zoning administrator had a couple questions to run past them. We have a tax refund, some sand and gravel, payroll transfer, our sheriff's monthly bill of $980, retirement contributions, and some parts for the highway department. The rec board has $39.95, and the capital fund is $90 for decal for the new truck. Any more discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Every meeting has a section set aside to recognize visitors and take their public comments. Do we have any? Yes?
Yeah, I have a couple of very quick ones.
And you are?
I am Jody Normando,
Thank you.
and I live in Dummerston.
Yes.
First of all, you kind of got me started when you did the folders, because I came up today to look at what's going on in the correspondence and things. And I think it would be great if there was a cubby that was quickly accessible by the public, so that we don't have to ask Charlotte and Lori, because I asked who was in charge now, and they said Zeke, and I said, well, Zeke's not here. And so I don't feel comfortable walking in the back of the room to pull something out to look at it. So I would just kind of make that suggestion if you would think about it anyway. The other thing I'm here for is I kind of wanted to plant a seed. You know all about Act 46. I know because we had the meeting here. One of the things that concerns me and a lot of other people is if we end up voting for Act 46, we lose our school and our school grounds for $1 to this entity that has 9 school board members running it. That's something that we have put so much money into over the years, and I really, and a lot of us, really don't want to lose that. Now, what Putney's doing with their town forest, they're making arrangements to get that off the docket before anything happens, just in case there is a merger. And so I'm encouraging you and the school board, I haven't talked to the board yet, I'm encouraging the select board and the school board to think about ways to keep it in, it belongs to the school district. But if maybe it could be given to the town and then leased out to something else. But in any way, keeping it with the town of Dummerston and not letting it go to this big entity which we wouldn't have any more control over. I mean, for a while we'd be able to use it as normal, but who knows what would happen down the road. So that's a seed that I'm planting here to think about ways that there are ways that it can be done. And I will talk to the school board about the same thing. I know some of the members of the school board have already discussed possibility of doing it, but it would take the okay of the select board. And I noticed in going back through minutes in town reports that when that school that's on there was the 3-room school, the building committee for that was 3 selectmen and 3 school board members. So it was a combined town thing. And I think we need to think of this as a combined town thing. And that's all I'll take. That's just a seed.
All right, thank you very much.
I will leave you.
I actually have a question, Jody. I understand your concern, but I guess I'm thinking logistically, if that were to happen, if the school were to be deeded to the town, for instance, and not go as part of the consolidation effort, then who would pay the operating costs?
Well, that's what I was saying. It would have to be something combined where you would lease it back to the entity, but you would still have control of everything. You wouldn't lose, it wouldn't be gone totally. You'd get your money back from leasing it out, I think. I mean, this is just something to think about. Or you could get the rec board involved in it, or you could get some entity, some nonprofit entity that might be. I mean, I don't know how it would be done. And I'm not representing the school board at this point. I'm just bringing it to both entities to think about it, because what would be, when it's gone, unless they decide to shut the school down, then they'll sell it back to us for $1. So, okay?
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Jody.
Get out early.
Okay.
Good night.
So, road foreman's report.
Okay.
And we have our favorite road foreman, Lee Cherrier.
Take the blue folder, the big fat one. Thanks.
Okay, so right now the Ford 1-ton has the clutch for the central hydraulics. We're waiting for a part, so that's the only truck what we have what isn't running right at this time. It's ordered, it should be in, hoping it's in tomorrow, but I doubt it. And coming up, I know we talked about the shoulders on the East-West Road being a little low. We're still hoping to do that. I had scheduled it like a couple weeks ago, and now with the weather being cold, I'm hoping it's gonna warm up for a couple days, so we can get that done. Been still cleaning up some of the trees from that last snowstorm. The guys did a really good job. There was 2 of them what could plow for that snowstorm when I was gone.
Where did the snowstorm hit? In Dummerston?
Yeah, pretty much they plowed the blacktop.
But where? Because it.
This was like 2 weeks
Yeah,
ago.
2
Remember
weeks
a
ago.
snowstorm.
Yeah.
It's a couple
Sunset
Thursdays
Lake.
Yeah, they had like
Road.
3 to 5 inches
Right.
on Sunset Lake, yes.
Wow, okay.
They
So they
plowed
plowed
this-
the west side and
Those are already signed, I think.
Oh,
the
okay.
blacktop. But I do
Huh.
think they did a good job for, I guess it wasn't really predicted as far as to keep snowing and it did, so. Everything went pretty good there. We are still doing some grading. Like today, had to do some other projects, and then once the road's thawed out enough to grade, the roads are in pretty good shape. Been blowing off the leaves. Tomorrow should be the last day of that. Stockpiling some gravel at the shop for in the spring. We just started marking some hazards for snow plowing, where we mark stumps and rocks and those kind of things so the plows won't hit them. A while ago we did, I don't know if I brought this up before, but you saw we completed down by Lynch's, the stone line ditch. and the driveway culvert.
Lee, how do you mark those stumps? Places with flag, you put poles and flags?
Yeah, sticks, poles, yes. Yeah. At our class, I texted Hugh, and I don't know if you let me know, but out on the West Village, there was kind of a question if we mark it out, and it was 9-foot travel lanes is the narrowest you can go. So really, if we were going to mark it out for a 2-lane road with a double yellow line down the middle, we're talking almost 20 feet. Time to get to 18, and then double yellow lines another foot, so you're 19 feet, and then your white lines to actually designate it.
So you're saying there would be 6 inches on each side, something like that?
Yeah, or I'm saying that if we were going to mark it out and put white lines, and then we had the policy that no parking, on the other side of the white line, we would need, 19.6, just say, and some places down through there are going to be tight, if we went that route. I don't know if they could be not in violation, put it that way, where they're parking.
Do you need to put the white lines on? Do you actually need this? Do you have to mark the whole road, or can you just do white lines? Not that I'm advocating paint it at all at this time.
Right.
But,
And I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Even just a single yellow line,
Yeah.
there. You would think that would be good enough, but I'm not sure if we can actually do it.
Okay.
And with just the white lines, I think it might look funny, but it might work.
Yeah.
I
I think it looked funny painted at all, to be honest with
Right, for something that hasn't
you. Yeah.
really ever had paint.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
And then, I don't know if you saw, we got paid for Tucker Reed Road project. So that money, all of our grants should be paid for. So, the one structures grant that I was thinking about applying for was the engineering for a Stickney Brook Road project. So then we would be able to put it out to bid the way we did Tucker Reed Road, because we'd have the engineering in place.
Right.
So it might be easier or less confusing for people.
I think that's good from the standpoint that everybody's gonna bid off the same engineering plans.
Right.
Because if each person has his own engineer, you don't know that we're bidding the same projects necessarily,
Yeah.
theoretically. And then you're ready, when Lee puts it out to bid, we're ready to bid.
Right, and the state is, they're pretty willing, I think, to give out those grants, because they can be up to, I believe, a $10,000 grant. And if they have money available, it's easy for them to fit those in. And then we would just apply for the next, or phase 2, or however you want it, the completion of it, the following year.
I do like how you did that the last time with the engineering being done ahead. Of course, we're in a
Right.
short time frame too, but
Right.
I thought that went very well.
But I thought I'd get another quote from Ron Bell. I mean, everything seemed to go all right. He seemed to be willing to work with us on getting the project done. But okay. And then I was just gonna stick around to talk about the budget a little bit when it comes down to that.
Okay, we might want to talk with you about the mowing contract that goes out, that we're going to discuss.
Oh, yes. Yep.
Okay, okay.
Excellent.
Thanks, Lee.
Any other questions for Lee? All right.
I did see the new truck today, it looks pretty nice.
Yeah, I think it turned out well, and
Yeah, looks
so
very good.
far, so good.
I think the aluminum wheels was a good idea.
Yep.
Yeah, it looks sharp.
Okay, so under correspondence for information, we had a letter regarding parking, a complaint, a formal complaint regarding parking on West Street. Which reminds me, we were going to set up a meeting with
Right.
the Planning Commission.
And the DRB?
Yes, the DRB may not, there's a question about if they are going to get involved, they have to not get too involved before.
Oh, so that they can be a little more objective?
Yes.
I think, just think about that, I mean, I think they could have representation, because, I mean, we would often on the DRB, or they, you know, if they saw an issue, you know, they would present that issue. I mean, I guess they could come to the meeting, but they're still gonna adjudicate the zoning bylaws as they're written. So I think if, you know, coming in, really the only expertise they're gonna provide is essentially, this hasn't been an issue till this came up recently, so they're not, they have no experience on as far as, you know, any bylaws that they've had to deal with, so it would just be the input of another board, but I don't really see a conflict
Okay.
with that. I don't know.
So, shall we try to, I know the Planning Commission isn't too busy other than just that town plan they're working on. And we're not too busy, just meeting every week with
Budget season?
budget.
Could we combine it with a work session?
I don't see that,
Yeah,
yeah.
No.
I wonder if we could go to a Planning Commission meeting.
When do they meet, on Tuesdays?
Tuesday's the first Tuesday of the month.
First Tuesday.
Just once a month you meet. So in December, that would be December 6th.
Nice.
That's coming right up. But they probably left from school late to ask to join their meeting.
See, how much urgency do you think there is? Could we wait till the end of budget season and do it, and then we'll have a better sense for what the winter has been like as far as snow removal and parking?
Let's see, how is the Planning Commission, how are they doing on the town plan? That seemed to be,
Yeah, we already had one public forum,
yeah.
and I'm trying to think of what he's got on the agenda for this month, for December. I don't know what he's got on the agenda.
I mean, I feel like we said at that meeting down at the community center that we would do this, and so much time slips by before you know it, and it's a process. It's not like something is going to be decided at that meeting. It's a process, and just keeping it moving feels, to me, important.
Well, if we could even just schedule a meeting, be it before or after the end of budget season.
I mean, do all of us need to be there? If we went to, say we could go to the December 6th meeting,
I would say maybe
two of us could
a
go,
couple could go.
and it would be an information
Report
gathering.
back to the rest of the board.
Right.
So, if
I mean, we
that-
do have a significant complaint filed on this. It would seem like we would probably want to work our way through it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. I wouldn't, putting it off to the end of budget season, that's, we're talking February then, and that
if
sort
they
of
only meet once
seems
a
like
month.
that's a little, we need to begin to get the wheels turning a little sooner than that.
And so maybe 2 or 3 of us could attend that meeting on the 6th. I would be willing to attend.
Okay, if you'd like, I could get in touch with the chair of the planning commission, run it past the DRB chair,
Mhm.
and see if we could set that up for the 6th.
I could go on the 6th, I won't be here for the 7th meeting, but
Okay.
just, on that, that's still, it's still gonna be, it's a very lengthy process. I mean, it's gonna, this is a meeting, all we're really gonna do is probably gather ideas, how's the the planning commission think that they can incorporate it. But before it actually becomes into the zoning bylaws, could be, how long? I mean, we're talking months, right?
Right. I mean, the meeting
So-
with the planning commission would be just kind of getting on the same page, you know, making sure we all know what the issues are, make sure that we understand what options might be on the table.
Yeah,
A couple people might go away with some research to
Right.
do, some conversations to have.
I absolutely think it needs to get started, but I also think we should consider, if we can, you know, we've already talked to Lee earlier where, you know, the plowing and everything in the village is a problem. I mean, is there something that we can do, whether, again, an ordinance from, even if we said today we're gonna do it, that's 2.5 months away at minimum, right, because of the 60-day timeframes. But, you know, we have the laws, I guess, that Steve had, you know, whether we need to look at those to see if we really make a decision. Do we want to enforce those and then notify everybody that, you know, winter's here, so we are going to either enforce parking on traveled portions of the road and give them a notification, or I think we should come up with either we're going to do that or we're not going to do that, and either admit that this is going to take, you know, 6 months or 8 months to go through the whole process, or do we want to actually take some action on parking in the village? And again, an ordinance would be, I would say 90 days minimum, probably, because of the, you know, meeting, discussing it, writing it, and then going through the 60-day process. So, or do we want to say, you know, we're going to enforce parking in the town, I guess, maybe not just the village, for the winter? And I mean, that's going to have to, if, you know, someone violates it, we're going
You
to
gotta
have to
be
take
right.
action.
Yeah.
So, I guess I would throw that, you know, there's, go ahead.
Yeah, and I agree with what you were saying, because, you know, if somebody's parking on Stickney Brook Road, say, and we're going up through, they should be notified. You know what I mean? Not to park there. Mostly if it's a ongoing thing, and they should be able to be towed if they just want to do what they want to do. So it's do you have an ordinance and then have, it just doesn't sound right to have like exempt spots, or you know, like, do you have no parking in the traveled portions of roads throughout town, and then you have exempt, you know, areas? I just don't think that's.
I mean, I was kind of intrigued by what Rick Lumen said at that meeting, you know, his experience in Brattleboro. Well, in Brattleboro, you know, when there's a snow advisory, you know, these are the rules. So it was specifically for winter. So I don't know if there's something that,
Well, I would just, I'm gonna say in the village, you're gonna have no support for, you know, if you're gonna park on the west side of the road, you know, this week or this day, and then, so you're gonna park on, you know, John's lawn on Tuesday, but you're gonna park on Hugh's lawn on Wednesday, you know, that's not gonna, we're not gonna get any support throughout the village. I mean, maybe other roads, it could possibly work, but I don't think we're gonna get, and I don't really know if that would alleviate the problem, really, in the village.
right,
Because it would still, I don't think plowing would work the way that would.
the way it does in Brattleboro.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think this is going to be easy at all, because there was a real split of opinion at that meeting as to whether there is even a problem.
Yep. Well, the letter we got, that was based on a DRB decision, though, right? So that was an actual, there's only one parking spot in front of that one building, you know, so they're kind of two different things. You know, we're talking about it, but the zoning potential violation, and I think it's still a questionable whether it's a zoning violation just yet, or are we gonna just try to solve the parking issue as was presented at the
Yeah, I mean, I think
meeting, so.
we're talking about this because of the larger issue. Zeke happened to think of it because of the complaint, but we're not moving forward on that complaint in this discussion right now and
Right.
meeting with the planning commission. They're two separate things.
Mhm.
So we've got the idea of trying to set up a meeting where some of us would meet with the planning commission. We'd go for that, see if they have room on their December 6th,
Agenda.
and then we go from there. I sort of need to read that
I know.
snow ordinance over again, just before I say, oh yeah, I think this is a great idea or not. So,
And again, the snow ordinance is only for where the plows turn around.
Yeah,
It's
okay,
not for the streets.
it doesn't really help us in the village, yeah.
okay, all
It's
right.
just state statute is the only thing we can fall back on in the village, or on any road, I guess. but-
Until we, until we made an ordinance, it would just have to be based on those
Yeah.
Okay.
laws of the road, but I guess, I guess I'll leave it at this, we have to go forward with that, and we have to go to the planning commission, get the DRB and kind of move the formal process down for the zoning bylaws, but I think we need to separate that, that's a long-term solution. I think there's a short-term issue that, like Joe said, there's different opinions on it. I think we should come up with are we gonna take action or are we not gonna take action on the immediate issue? And we're just gonna work through the zoning bylaw process, which is a long process. Does that make sense, what I'm trying to say?
Yep.
I don't think we can just do nothing. We should come up with a decision.
Okay,
Well, it's really up to the DRB, isn't it? The one property.
Right, and I think that's a separate issue. If we're talking about parking, that particular parking issue is just, they only have one parking spot
Yep.
based on a decision, and they may be parking 2 vehicles there. I think that's a separate issue from the overall parking in the
Right, I
village.
agree.
And
Yep.
I think what I think we need to address is the overall parking issue, and either just come out and say, we're not doing anything, we're just gonna go through the planning and zoning process, which is months away, or we're gonna do something, and then it's done, we put it to bed. It's either,
well, what do you think you can do right now that's going to put it to bed? And it's not going to take months?
the only thing we can do is decide if we're going to enforce the laws that, if they're enforceable, that Steve had when we were at the village meeting,
Yeah,
and we say we're gonna do that, or we say we're not gonna do that, and then we're just gonna go through the zoning process. I guess
Okay,
what
and
maybe I'm not making clear is, we're gonna talk about this every week unless
Yes,
we
yes.
make a decision on how we're gonna address it.
okay, and that statute that you brought to our attention,
Didn't it say, Steve, pretty much that you can't park so as to interfere with highway maintenance or snow removal?
Mhm. Well, I didn't bring it with me tonight, and I hate, but yeah, that was in there. I don't think I have it with me.
But I think we could.
You can't travel, you can't park on the travel portion of the road essentially, but it really, there was another section that dealt with snow removal and,
Mhm.
it's just a question if we want to be hired and enforce statute or not, I guess.
I mean, how would we enforce it? Would we get the sheriff's department to give tickets? Is that,
No, I think it has to be through the state police,
okay?
if we're gonna use state statute.
and I guess it would be Lee's crew calling him and telling him, there's a problem, on Houghton Road, or wherever there's a car that's making it difficult to maintain the roads, and
And then there's really two issues here, as Lee, I'm sure, would say. I mean, sometimes you get an icy situation and people can't make the damn hill.
right,
And that's one thing, and then you also have the thing where people just consistently park in the road.
And that's what that was laminated for, that parking ordinance, or why I went up to the shop. And that was to stick on people's windshields
Yeah.
who park in the turnarounds, to try to give them a chance.
Steve, how responsive do you think the state police would be if we were to ask them to start, handing out tickets in the village, for instance?
They wouldn't hand out tickets, they'd actually have the vehicle towed.
Okay.
It wouldn't be a ticket, they'd actually come and have the vehicle towed.
Mhm.
And I think that, I think they would be very, I can tell you our experience from my snowplowing business is that usually the police are very proficient about getting vehicles towed that are in the way.
And they, I'm sure.
Rather it be the, I'd probably, maybe the Brattleboro Police or the state police,
Yep.
not the sheriff's department necessarily. But,
Now, obviously, they hire it out to somebody.
yeah, they just have a call list that they go down who the next wrecker is that comes and tows it.
Yeah. Well, I don't need to tell anybody here or on the camera that, if we start doing that, people are gonna be more than a little upset.
Takes 3 people, but you got, by the time you tow the third person, the problem would probably straighten out, but you're gonna have 3 really upset people.
Yep.
So
The first one might be upset at us, the second one might be upset at us and themselves. Hopefully the last person would be upset at themselves because they know they shouldn't park there.
So this statute is in place. It's ready to go anytime there's a vehicle that is making it either hazardous or difficult to maintain the roads.
I should have it in front of me to read it, but that's
Right.
vaguely what I remember,
Yeah.
yes. Yep.
And so that we can start anytime.
Yeah.
That's where I was kind of going with the marking too.
Yeah.
Because, it's hard to define travel lanes.
Right. I like
You know what I mean? It's,
Yeah.
and if you marked it out, or if you took measurements where some of the cars are parked, you would see, is there gonna be 8 feet at all, where they can maybe park, if they keep their snow removed, thinking across from you.
And you, even when you plow, Lee, though, I don't, I'm sure what word it is, but eventually the snow's you've got to have room to get, depending on the winter. Don't you come back and, wing the snow
Wing
off
the
the
car,
road, you gotta
yeah.
have room to, so it really can't be just tight up to the travel lane necessarily.
Right,
There's a
but-
bit of a right of way that you have to,
In a spot like that, it works because we'll just do it when the cars are gone,
yeah.
or the best we can.
So I think maybe we could just get the laws to all of us, because I can't find them either, I know I
Right.
have them in my thing. And then we all could review them,
Mm-hmm.
and then and then come in prepared to actually
Yep.
discuss it, I think would be the best way. to go.
Okay.
I mean, I actually can get to them because I actually worked with the league on this, and
Yeah.
so I should have them in an email from the league that I could forward again.
Okay, so we'll do that. We'll review them and then come to the next meeting prepared to discuss this again and take a vote, possibly, and then we'll let people know that this is the state statute that we're going to enforce.
Would it be appropriate between then and now that you have me contact the state police and
Sure.
get their input? Okay.
I think, everybody okay with that?
Absolutely.
Sure.
And then it might be that we come up with a policy that somehow there's a warning that we give them
Yeah,
twice, and then the
Yeah.
third time they're out of luck.
right. I hope
Right,
so.
and we give them Lee's home phone number. Make it clear.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, unfortunately, Lee, you're the one that's gonna see them out there, but.
Okay, so that's the plan we're gonna take?
It is, I just say I won't be here on the 7th, and I mean, I'm not saying don't do it, I wish I don't.
Well, you can
want to-
Skype in, because,
All right.
you gotta,
You're gonna be 30,000 feet
Yeah.
up.
So we're not gonna meet with the planning commission then on the 6th?
no, do
I
you want to go
I
ahead?
think we
with
could
that?
still, I think we should begin that process, yes, as well.
Okay.
So we are gonna meet on the 6th. Try to
We're
if
gonna-
it's,
Yeah,
if they're
I'll-
available.
If you're willing, I'll
Because
contact them.
along with the town plan, they could actually be changed zoning at the same time. I mean, it isn't like we gotta wait 3 years to do
Yeah.
it.
Mhm.
They actually could change zoning at the same time, if they chose to.
Okay, so
Yeah, I think that's
I
important
will
to start.
contact them. Because it's a scheduling issue, I can let everybody know.
Okay.
And you can let me know whether you want to come or not. And if we have 3 members that want to go, then I'll make sure we get it warned that we'll be there.
Who's thinking of going right now?
I have a conflict that night.
Okay.
I could go.
Are you gonna go, Steve?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I won't
could
get-
go.
I mean, I don't have to
No.
go. If you only want 2 people to go, that's fine. you know, if it makes it easier, that's fine. I mean, it's just about reporting back,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll let you two go, and I won't go. That way it doesn't if you weren't.
yeah.
Okay.
Are you going, or?
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they have beer and
Oh, that's beginning to make sense now.
that's fine, yeah. I mean, that's probably their Christmas party also. Okay, so I'll let everyone know about that, and then you can decide whether you want to.
And if Geraldine's wants to go too, we just have to warn it.
Yep,
Yep.
and that's not a big deal.
No.
But if you want
There
to
may be all of us
reschedule things.
County bars.
Okay, we ready to move on?
Yes.
Okay, we're still under correspondence for information. We had a letter from Diana Wahle and John Warren urging the select board to support the West River Trail. There was a notice of a webinar on Road Bicycle Plan Phase 2 for December 1st. Anyone interested in that? There's just a letter from Michelle Cherrier thanking Hugh for his recap of the Wyndham Solid Waste Management meeting that happened on the 10th of the month. And we had a letter from Richard Virkstis regarding traffic control and high visibility monitoring and suggestions for adding more signs and things like that. I could let him know when we have the sheriff here or a sheriff's deputy. I could give him a heads up that that's going to take place.
Good.
Okay. You want to discuss anything in detail?
No, my only thought though, Steve, on the West River Trail, we haven't met with those folks in quite some time now. Would it be well to have them come in and just let us know where things are going with the with the litigation, for instance, and their future plans?
No, I'd be willing to kick that one down the road till after budget season.
Okay, that's fine with me.
Yeah. If that's,
And
but
I just don't wait till we hear what the finding of the litigation is.
Okay with me?
yeah, maybe they could just send us a letter what's going
Yeah,
on,
yeah.
so we have an idea.
I get a question about the Wyndham Solid Waste.
Yes.
How did they vote? I guess that was my question.
From my, so that, just to try to, so the evening that Lou, is that his Lou?
Mhm.
Out here gave it, at the very end, he threw out an option that they might give the outlying towns a 20%, I think it's 20% surcharge on their assessment because further trucking or they had more depth. So that was actually the vote that was passed at this meeting, I guess back on the 10th. So it was like, so our Dummerston's assessment went down just slightly from the proposed full MRF staying in business, basically business as usual, or as it is right now. Our assessment went down just, I forget exactly, maybe just say $1,000 plus or minus a couple hundred. And then the outlying towns, some of them, their assessments went up a little bit. And then there'll be another, there'll be a public hearing within the next week or two, first week of December, and then the final vote will go to see if that's what they go with. Does that answer?
And, all right, so the vote to actually close the.
No, they're going to keep it open at least a year.
One more year,
One more year,
at least, yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that gives
Which is
us-
what we had hoped for that evening, that was what we
Yeah,
had
so
hoped.
it gives us time to figure out what we would do.
And so that one more year means that July of next year it closes, or that's actually, or January of?
I guess it would be fiscal
2018.
year,
Oh,
so.
fiscal years.
Would be July, what, 2018?
That's what I believe.
Yeah.
And of course, they'll have another meeting next December to decide and see what happens then, but.
Right, listening to New Fans the other night, I was just trying to think how we could do it, cheaper than, cause it sounded like if they voted to close it down, the if we hired, say, Triple T's to come up here, and get it, it's still gonna be almost the same amount of money.
Right.
And being, being held, with one contractor, to pick up the recycling material, you know. And they bring it to Rutland anyways. I just didn't know if there was some kind of a thought of running it directly to Rutland.
The town would take responsibility for that instead of hiring Triple T, is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, maybe a little bit, or thinking something like that, maybe. And if they're actually paying for cardboard now, you know, even if, you know, running the cardboard or having Triple T take the cardboard, if that's going to be the cheaper material for them to haul. If they're making money on it, I would think that cardboard would be less expensive than plastics. But I was just trying to...
Well, we have, depending on their vote in December, we'll have a year to
Look
work
at
on
these
this.
things.
and,
Okay.
Yeah, brainstorm
And there might be other suppliers we could use, Casella or who's the one in Bennington. I mean, there might be
Okay.
other, I mean, I'd like to see us use Triple T, but I mean, there might be other options we could look at too.
Yeah, so.
And that's what this year is for, you know,
Right.
that's kind of,
To find out all those options.
right, so it would be good if we kept it in our minds, you know, on the radar, so that we don't end up at the end of the year with the decision and then having to make alternate plans,
Right.
you know. So keep your ideas coming.
Okay.
Just one other thing on Dick's letter.
Yes.
Which we were at one
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
And I am the liaison with the sheriff's department, but I'm the liaison for the select board.
Yes,
Anybody in town can call any select board member, they don't have to call me. And my
Right.
position is to interact in response to what the select board asks me to do with the,
Mhm.
it isn't that somebody calls me and I immediately contact the sheriff's department.
right.
So I just want to make sure that there seemed to be maybe a little confusion in that I should be responding, and if somebody calls me directly, I'm happy to talk to them, and any of us are, but an email strictly to the select board doesn't mean that I respond to it as the liaison.
I see.
I work with the sheriff's department and the state police
Mhm.
on what the select board asked me to do. So I just want to make sure that's clear on what the liaison's job is.
Yes, yes. There's a certain amount of wishful thinking
Yeah.
involved here.
I wish I could call them and tell them I want them to sit on Middle Road every day, but it doesn't work that way. So.
Yes, and I, you know, as chair, I often, you know, I sent a letter back
Right.
saying, you know, we received this, we'll put it on the agenda, and,
I mean, we're all welcome to interact and talk with people from
Sure.
town, but we have to be very careful speaking for the select board.
Right.
Unless the
Yes.
select board asks me to contact Dick directly to discuss this situation. We're always welcome to take phone calls and talk with people, but sometimes responding directly to an email might not be what we should be doing,
right,
unless the select board directs us to do it, so.
yes, or unless you're making it clear that you're speaking just
For
as-
yourself, yeah.
And not
Yeah.
the board, but,
Right. Thank you for letting me
yeah.
say that.
Okay, under correspondence for discussion and or action, there's the Act 250 notice of a hearing to amend the Act 250 rules for the Scott Farm on Kipling Road. The hearing, site visit and the hearing are scheduled for November 29th, which is next Tuesday at 9:30 in the morning at the Scott Farm. And this has gone to all statutory parties, adjoining property owners, and non-party participants. So I would, if you want to discuss this or take any action, I'd have to recuse myself from this.
I too should.
Yes, and I think, I actually don't think we have a quorum, because actually Geraldine's husband is on the board there, so. And I think, even being a customer, I think that would put you in the clear. But, I would just say, my thought is that, the hearing is on Tuesday. The public is welcome to attend, and as are any, abutters or interested parties. And again, at 9:30 in the morning. And that's about all I would
Yeah.
think we can do at this point.
Yeah, I'm comfortable in the Act 250 process.
Right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay. So Leah's in a butter and
Right.
probably get some time off to go if he wants.
We did send a letter to encourage the process, and that's about as far as I would feel comfortable being involved.
Okay. So if we go on to unfinished business, we have, and our homework last week was to,
Is this something, I don't know where this came from.
this
Oh, that
came
came out,
from
that might have come out of
one
one
of
thing.
civil authorities.
That's all
We'll
right.
get to that
Okay.
later. The solar array that's proposed for the Wyndham Solid Waste Management District. The Energy Committee has looked at this and discussed it. They're recommending that the town go ahead and sign
Oh,
on
good.
to this. So,
Do you have anything else to say about it, Hugh?
Well, I guess I'll just say, I read through the contract and, obviously reading as a layman, I have no problem with the contract. I think it's a good idea. I think the cost savings for the town, it's fairly significant actually for a town our size and the bill we have. It's over a long period of time, but it does save us money. And I think the one out, where we might not save as much, is if we don't get that, the net metering adder. We have 60 days to opt out of the contract. If they don't get that 4-cent adder put into it, if we wanted to do that, we could do that.
Which would decrease the amount that we would
Would
earn
save,
over
right,
or save.
right. So, I don't see any negative to it. Honestly, I think it's probably a good idea.
I agree. It's a nice use of an otherwise unusable parcel. And it's out of sight, what's not to like?
yeah, it's not prime agricultural land. Yeah.
Good.
So,
And I think the Energy Commission, somebody mentioned it, that they were in favor of it as well, so I think that's important.
okay. Motion be in order.
You wanna make it?
I'll make a motion that the select board, authorize me to contact the representative and ask him to give us a signable contract for to participate in the Wyndham Solid Waste net metering project.
I'd second that.
Okay, discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, there. If you're-
And so does that mean that when you get the signable contract, somebody can sign it because we've made the decision to go with it, or we make another
Or
motion when
we
we have that
would,
signable contract?
And is there action required by the end of this month?
30th, I think we just need to notify them of our intent, but,
Okay.
but then they want to give us a signable contract, so I could deliver that if we get it to the board for your next meeting, on the 7th is when the meeting will be,
Mhm.
of December.
Yes,
I would think you would have it ready by then.
okay.
Okay, and that fits their time frame.
Yes, I'll let him know tomorrow. I
Okay.
don't know if they're working or not, but
Okay.
I'll let him know that we voted on it, we've approved it, we're gonna participate, our 0.24 of 1% of the entire project, we're gonna jump on.
Great, good. Thanks for your work on
And
that,
if I
Hugh.
see any problem, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great. An update on the select board assistant position?
Yeah, I did what I was asked to do of calling the temp agency. I called Masiello and had a good conversation with the contact there, and I think that one of their stipulations is that the person have a dedicated workspace. So we had imagined this position as someone coming to the meetings and then doing the rest of their work from home, and maybe even on their own computer as opposed to a town computer. We don't have a dedicated town computer for this work. So that didn't quite fit with their requirements. Everything else seemed like it would work. They would advertise the position, we would interview candidates. If we hired somebody through them, there would be a markup rate that would cover the cost of their efforts, and it would go through their payrolls. They would bill us. So I learned all the protocol for that. But she said the one challenge would be the schedule, so that it was a flexible number of hours depending on the work, not a specific number of hours. And then she mentioned that the person has to have a dedicated workspace with someone present and responsible for that person who's working during those specific hours. So I don't know if that seems workable.
Doesn't sound very doable.
No.
No. You couldn't come in and,
Probably not.
all right, well, that shoots that down. But thank you for
Yeah.
looking, so we at least know that that's probably. We did have, our zoning administrator spoke with me this morning about her interest in maybe applying for the position if we could find someone who could just come in and take minutes in the, for our evening meetings. That's the hard part of this for her. You usually come to these meetings, right?
Right?
No, say that.
$30
So if we could find
Somebody to
someone-
take minutes
Yeah,
and then pass them to Kathleen.
yes,
And
email.
then she would be willing to do the other jobs as well, the posting and any
Filing.
research, filing. And
Yes,
she's here,
research.
she has her
Yes.
space, she has a
Mhm.
computer, she has specific hours.
It might make her position a little easier by adding some more hours to it, which is something she'd probably like.
As much as I'd like Maria not to be doing this, I don't see as that working very well, because if you're gonna have an administrative assistant working with you, I think some of the interaction would be here at the meetings,
Yeah,
asking
I agree
questions
with
and
you.
interacting,
Yeah.
and I just think that's a total disconnect of what we want as an assistant. And
I was grasping at straws.
yeah, I just, as much as I wish that would work for her, that she could have done the meetings, it just seems like an absolute disconnect from us. And she is our assistant, and I think the interaction at the meeting is more important maybe than some of the research, so.
Okay.
That would
Yeah.
be my thought.
No, I agree, because some of the few times that you do provide tasking, now you're gonna lose it in the communication potentially
Yeah.
from the next day or to the node or the pad, yeah, so it's probably much better to have a person here, I agree with you.
Okay, so we'll go back to the beating the bushes, right?
You should just keep working on the temporary one you have.
I think, I was wondering, do you have a job description
Yes,
for
we
this?
do.
You do?
Yeah, if you're interested.
And does it have an HR? Is it include HR person? Human resources, or our insurance and all that kind of stuff?
Well, it's
Oh.
only
Going on with
8 to
that?
10 hours a week.
Yeah.
It's not, you mean, would they get,
No, are they responsible for doing that job?
That's, I don't think that's in the job description.
Right.
The idea of having an HR person to administer some of the health, insurance,
And
reimbursements and things. That's a new, that came up since we made this job description.
right, and yeah, that's fine. I just, because I haven't even seen the job description, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying that something to keep in mind that that I believe we're required to have one, and or it'd be nice to have one. And right now Pam is doing it temporarily.
Oh.
And this is getting all the insurance information each year. One employee has a problem with insurance, dealing with that. Somebody to go between the insurance companies and
Okay.
I think it's going to have to be addressed eventually. And I'm not saying that Pam isn't willing to do it for a long period of time, because I didn't ask her. But I do think that it would be nice to know who that person is.
So because the select board is responsible for town employees, we're responsible for those benefits, but there's no one that's particularly designated to deal with those issues?
Right.
Like
and I
if
think-
one of your guys has a question about insurance, they come to you, but then you don't have anybody to go to.
Right. Yes.
So,
Huh,
and
interesting.
Pam McFadden has sort of volunteered to do this.
And that's what I've heard, yes.
Yes, and so we could follow up on that, and then, I guess we would be the ones to make that official. So she had, access to these records and,
Yeah.
so.
I mean, it could be that we, maybe even have a combined position,
Mhm.
I mean,
You mean
it
that
might-
the select board assistant would
And, right.
include these responsibilities?
Right, and if it thereby entailed more hours, it might be more attractive to other applicants.
Yeah, I don't think this HR position is actually that many hours.
It's just a matter of when.
When something happens,
Yeah.
you want to.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You need a person that.
And so it might be, if we could just find someone to be just a basic select board assistant, then we might also think, well, this would also be a good person to do this HR part. But, right now, Pam McFadden, I think, is a great person to have in that role, if she's willing to do that. Because she was the point person for the health insurance for a number of years.
Would she be willing, have we asked her if she'd be the select board assistant?
That is going a little too far, I think.
Okay.
I think she knows we're looking for one.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she knows, yeah.
But sometimes people have to be asked, Izzy.
When I see her next, I will ask officially. I'll get down on my knee.
Who do you go to now? Just right to the league, Lee? Is that who you usually would go to if there's a serious question?
Pam has been.
Just Pam takes care of it and she would go to the league or whatever?
Yes.
Or Blue Cross Blue
Yeah,
Shield. I would
yeah.
guess.
And I'm sure there's more jobs that person is actually supposed to be doing. I just don't know them because I don't know what. But all companies have a person that actually is in charge of those kind of questions.
Mhm.
Well, and we talked about, the reviews and filing that information and who's responsible. There's some paperwork involved in that and,
Yeah.
so,
Okay. So I'll ask Pam, then we can officially
okay.
make her the HR
Yeah,
person.
if not, we might wanna look into other towns, cause each town's gonna have this same, and maybe it's the type of thing where 3 or 4 towns could utilize one person or
Yeah,
something.
I
Yes.
think that's a great idea.
Yeah. Okay. I'll look into this some more and get some information, maybe see what Putney does and,
Does the town have an employee assistance program? Where we do?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
It's through the insurance.
Okay.
So, ready to move on?
Yes.
Okay. We have an RFP. It turns out we discussed the mowing at our last budget meeting, and we were correct in thinking it was a 2-year contract. And we were hoping we had another year on it, but it appears that it's over, when he finishes up his, fall cleanup work. So it would be that time of year then where we would put out another RFP for the mowing.
Mowing of,
The town of Dummerston this is what we've used in the past. Town of Dummerston is seeking bids for the mowing and cleaning of all town-maintained cemeteries, the lawn at the town office, and the town common. This will be a 2-year contract. Frequency and specifications are to be determined by the select board. Please mark envelopes. This contract said cemetery bids. And please submit all bids by 3 p.m. and then we'll set a date. Town of Dummerston, all bids require a certificate of insurance. The select board reserves the right to accept or reject any or all bids. For additional information, please phone. We put Lee's cell phone here. I think that would be the best thing. But we have the workers' comp issue. And the Castine, the town, there's a formula, the town paid an extra $240 for his workers' comp.
And that's, if he bid on this again and didn't have, and we still had to do that, the question is just whether we back bill him for that $200, that's what came up with.
We need to have a policy that we're going to back bill. And it probably needs to go in the bids, so they know they're gonna be back billed. This is industry standard now. If somebody works for me and I get a workman's comp charge for coverage, then I would bill them back for that. And then it's up to them to fight with workman's comp if they're supposed to be paying it or not. So this is basically his unfair bidding, because let's say somebody else has the workman's comp in place, bids the contract, we give it to this person, they do the contract, but then we pay the workman's comp that the other guy's paying out of his pocket. So
Right.
it's really an unfair bidding.
So do we put, all bids require a certificate of insurance and proof of workers' comp, or the town will bill back workers' comp fees?
Yeah, I think in the contract, at least, it needs to say we're gonna bill it back. It would be nice to hear, because what happens is they say, well, I'm self-employed and
Right.
I'm not required to have workman's comp, which is technically true. But workman's comp sees that he works for the town of Dummerston, didn't pay workman's comp, and charges us for him.
Yes.
So it probably needs to say in here that you have to provide workman's comp.
Or you have
Even
to
though
provide-
by-
or there'll be a workman's comp adjustment.
Or there'll be a workman's comp charge back, yeah.
Okay.
Because it's gonna happen again this year.
Sure.
Right.
This was 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And so we're gonna get another charge this year for it.
Yeah,
And we need to have this on all contracts, because you could run into it on a bridge contract.
Okay.
Here's from 2012, essentially the same. Oh. Okay, so this one's a little more up to date, asking that they contact road foreman at the town garage. All bids require certificate of insurance, liability and workers' comp insurance, or how do you want to word that?
Maria, how would you word that to protect the town?
You're asking for proof of insurance already.
Yeah, but that's really just your liability insurance, that's
What
not
you
your,
could do is, you could ask for a proof of insurance to include liability
And
and
workman's
workers'
comp.
compensation.
yeah.
And then if, I've been told some people won't bid because they don't have workers' comp, and they don't wanna get
Right.
workers' comp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, so if we, rather than rule them out, if we say something to the effect that we will bill them for the workers' comp.
I don't think you want to go into that kind of detail in a request for proposal. I think you could put that into a contract.
But they have to know that to make their proposal.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, but you
Their
just
bid
say,
is going to be dependent, you know, if they're going to have to pay another $240 to do this, they're probably gonna wanna work that into their,
right, but I think that, you know, it sort of heads the issue off if you tell them up front, you know, we're only going to take bids that, you know, where you have, you know, proof of workers' comp insurance.
But I don't think we want to eliminate those people.
Well, but then we get into
Well,
the same problem we have.
Do you or don't you? Because if they, let's say they, say they don't need workman's comp, which I don't need workman's comp on myself. But let's say I had my cousin work for me under the table and he got hurt. You know, now we're gonna be probably partially liable for that
But we're providing.
because he
workers'
doesn't have
comp,
workman's
right?
comp
But
on him.
I guess I'm just coming, if this guy who, Bryce, he's done this for years, right? And so it costs us, what, $400 for 2 years to provide workman's comp for him?
yes.
I mean, I would like to, if he wants to bid again, why would we eliminate him if we know it's gonna cost us right around $400, as long as he knows that we're gonna bill him back for
Yeah,
the $400?
I'd say, you know, they have workers' comp, or they know that we're going to bill them back.
Because then he's covered, right? He's not like your cousin who you didn't tell anybody he was working on.
Right, yeah, then when they do the audit.
By the way, my cousin doesn't work for me under the table. I forgot this was on TV. I lost my head. Yeah.
Hypothetical. So that way.
You'll
when-
hear from him, whoever it is.
When they do
Oh,
the,
right from the state.
when they do the audit, then they can just say, oh, and we have the lawn mowing person, and, you know, this was their pay.
Yeah, I mean, it's small potatoes on a $4,000 contract, but on a $100,000 contract, it's not, or, you know, so all I'm saying is we need to have a policy where when it goes out to bid, it needs to be the same every time.
Well, yes, also levels the playing field, because
Yeah.
then the people that do provide workers' comp to their employees, and, you know, they're sort of bidding, you know, they simply have higher overhead and are at a disadvantage in bidding these bids where a self-employed person can come and not have workers' comp and have that low bid, but then the town subsidizes them by picking up the tab. So,
So in that, if we just said, you know, however you word it, you provide proof of the liability, et cetera, workman's compensation insurance, and if you don't provide proof, then the town will bill you for work, whatever, you're
Is
just
there-
gonna back bill them
is
for
there
workman's
a
comp.
nice, neat, you know, phrase that accomplishes that?
Just, you're gonna bill them, that's the easiest way
Yeah,
to do
it's
it.
plain
Just bill-
language, yeah.
You know, they'll be billed back.
Yeah,
Billed back.
we don't
for-
want to have a 2-page ad here.
Right.
If you don't have, you'll be billed back for your
I mean,
workman's comp.
in the
premiums.
industry, a lot of people no longer, self-employed people no longer bid town jobs.
Yeah.
I mean, I can think of a guy in Chester that did huge amounts of town work and no longer does it because of the workman's comp issue.
But is that because the town won't?
Bill
Bill
they were
them
gonna
back
bill him
for it?
No, they were gonna bill him back, and he says by law, he doesn't have to have it, so he no longer works for the
Well,
town.
that's his choice. I mean,
Yeah.
I think the reason we
But
wanna
the
put it in
town is the
there.
one that says they're gonna charge him, and he can't work for the town without having workman's comp.
Yeah.
So
But isn't that what we want?
Yeah, well, that's a discussion we're having, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
You're saying we don't want that necessarily, we may not want that, and
We don't
And I
want to
don't know
work
what
with
I want.
somebody that doesn't have a workman's comp. If they don't have it, we're gonna provide it and we'll bill them back.
Well, yeah, I mean, so we're not saying we don't want to
Seems
work with them,
simple.
we're just saying we're gonna bill them back. We encourage all bids, but if you don't have workman's comp, we're gonna bill you for it.
Right, I'm just saying, we don't want to work with somebody that says, I don't need it,
Oh, then you-
and
yeah.
I don't want to be billed back for it. It's like,
And then your
okay,
bid
well,
is
then,
we
we don't
refuse any
wanna
and all
work with
bids
you.
and we throw it out.
Yeah.
Either accepts it or he doesn't.
yeah.
or-
And what you're saying, Steve, is let's just be clear.
clear and the same on all bids. That's all I'm saying.
Yes.
If we're gonna, it really needs to be a policy that whatever wording we use goes into every bid. And I don't know that we can come up with those
Right.
words instantaneously, but.
Right. Yeah, something to work on and
Well,
have that ready
what's
to
wrong
go.
with the words that we came up with? Why isn't that good?
I guess I didn't hear it.
Or be billed
What are
back?
they? What are the words? How are you gonna word it?
Have certificate of liability insurance, workers' comp, or the town will bill back workers' comp expense.
Is there a loophole in that?
Yep, there sure is.
Good spot to start.
There's a big one.
Yeah, okay.
Spot to start.
Yeah, I may be in the minority on
What
this
do you
one.
think?
I would just say, we require proof of workers' compensation insurance, and I think as a policy matter, we want to encourage people to have workers' compensation. And if they don't, sorry,
Well, that's gonna cut out the person who's been
Well, I
doing it for
understand
years
that.
and years.
The little
Yeah.
guy.
You don't know
Right.
Just the
that.
little guy.
Yeah.
You don't know that. I mean, the guy could go get workman's comp insurance to put his bid in. We don't know what's gonna take him out, do we?
No, we don't know that.
I don't see any problem with being a little more flexible than that, saying we're gonna bill him back personally. I mean, whether he'll get it or not, I guess I'm encouraging people to put in for it. And if it's gonna cost us, well, it's gonna cost the person $400 and we're gonna pay for it, but at least we're casting a wider net and letting guys who have these small businesses bid these things. I don't see a problem with that. I mean, particularly in a case where, again, I don't know if he's gonna bid again, but he's done this for years, right? He's done a good job. I don't think there's many complaints in the cemeteries. I can't speak for the town lawn, but I mean, $400, $200 a year?
$240.
So he knows he's gonna get billed. I'm not gonna do public math, even an easy one like that. It's gonna,
Well, and you're making, again, we're making assumptions that his bid would be the same and the rate would be the
right,
same.
it may not even
I
happen,
mean, it could be
but, you know,
lower, it could be
could,
more.
there might be a new guy coming at it,
Yeah.
starting up that wants to get going,
That's true.
Yeah, the catch is, in this instance, it's not an issue because he basically works for us almost all year long. The catch is if we put this into a contract where somebody does something in June and we get our workman's comp audit in September, and the chances of getting the money back out of him could be slim and none. But
Right, then we'd have to hold it. We'd have to hold back some money.
that's a good point too.
Until
Yeah.
September.
Yeah.
Even with the lawn mowing, it's questionable whether you do the same thing
Hold some back,
until September.
yeah.
So then instead of them paying you back, you just,
Yeah. It's done. Right.
yeah, it's done and,
Good point, yeah.
yeah, on a big contract, I think you'd have to do that.
Yeah.
Plus the amount could vary too,
Right.
from
Right, 'cause-
whatever the audit is.
Right.
Yes.
Mhm. Okay.
It's really two discussions here. I mean, one is we're talking about a little contract and a small amount of money.
Right.
But it's a policy that we ought to have on all bids.
There's probably a policy written up already that we could, either get
Borrow.
VLCT
Copy?
or
Yeah.
another
Same
town
as.
that has this, and
Yeah.
then, or rather than starting from scratch, drafting one.
But if does this need to go out right now, or, I mean, it's something that could,
We just need the number.
oh, we need the
budget.
numbers for budget, yeah.
So
Yeah,
I would think, and it'd be nice for companies to be able to look at the lawns before it snows.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, they better hurry.
And the other thing to go along with this was if anyone has any changes to the number of times that we'd like to see them mowed. There's a chart in there, so each cemetery is a little bit different than the others.
Okay.
Feel free.
I thought,
So I think for this,
Yeah.
so we can start, I guess we would state that it requires workman's comp or you will be billed back, and would that be sufficient,
Yeah.
Joe, for this one?
Well, like I said,
Yeah.
I'll go along with it.
Yeah, I think it's to help us through
Yeah.
this particular
Right.
situation.
This is the number 20.
okay.
The unfortunate thing is the only people workman's comp audits are people who get workman's comp. So the people that don't get it, don't get audited.
Okay, so if we approve this and it went out, we'd maybe have it out for what, 2 weeks? Is that what you generally do?
I think that's a good.
Okay. So maybe we have the bids back by the 14th, or is that, we're meeting the 7th for a regular meeting.
Right, and 21st is a regular
And,
meeting.
given the holiday and figuring out who's going to do this.
I think it works good if we, even if we like open them on like the 7th and then don't even decide anything until the 21st.
Yeah, do you think we can get this out and, have it, if we're using, it might not get in the paper until the 30th, if we're lucky, and then, so, how about just the 21st? That's, okay, December 21st. Okay. All right. Okay, so, think I could give this to the select board assistant to type up, and
I would think you could.
I think so. Okay, I'm going to do that. All right,
Do we
so
have
that's,
a motion?
yeah, let's have a motion and,
Is that-
Do we need to read or just say we have a motion to publish the bid?
I don't either.
Or publish the
let's
request?
do that, yes.
I'll figure it out.
Publish the request.
I guess you just.
Publish this RFP for the mowing contract.
So I'll make a motion that we publish that request for bids for the mowing contract for the cemeteries in the town lawns.
It's in the
That's-
commons. Is that in the commons?
Yes, yes. Okay,
That's sufficient?
yeah, I think so.
I'll second that.
All right, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, great. Yes. All right, let's see, we added, select board report. We need someone to write the select board report for the town report. So I'm thinking of a number,
From 1 to 10?
yeah.
It's number 1, because it should come from the chairman.
Oh.
It's not the number you were thinking.
No, guess again. I thought I was gonna be able to get out of that one.
I think it has a nice touch to come from the chair.
Yeah, I have to admit. That you're probably right.
I was gonna volunteer
I'd feel
as
less
secretary
bad about
myself.
it if you weren't doing so many extra things already.
Would you be willing to come over and rake my lawn? If you're feeling guilty, that would be fine. Okay, so, all right, well, I'll do that then,
Thank you, Zeke.
yes. Unless you wanted to.
No, but if you got, I don't know, frazzled, you can give me a call.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, great, I appreciate that. Was that about the raking or the? Okay, so just be forewarned, you know, the deadline for the next views will, you know, arrive sooner than we think. Okay, so we have, under other new business, this was the amendment to the 2016 grand list. I'm not gonna get the first name right, but Mtg and Brickley, the parcel out here on Bunker Road, or Park Lawton Road. Part of when the grand list was set, let's see, there was a change in the current use rate that took some land, let's see, added some land to the current use. Yes, it was going to be 6 acres that was going to be taken out of current use, and that's what the tax was based on. It turns out that 2 acres is being taken out of current use. And so the difference, as far as our taxes go, will be $1,007.74, and that was a tax refund. So we just have to approve this current use change amendment to the grand list.
I move we make the current use change for Mtg and Brickley number 23.6.1 from 92,800 to 34,600 as a current use change.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yes, the listers have already signed off on this, so we just need the select board to sign off on that, and we're doing okay with that. All right, under other business, we can continue to work on the budget. We cannot continue to work on the budget. We did get some more figures in, and we just
Do
got.
we have a budget folder?
Yes, this
Yeah.
big yellow one.
Okay.
We got does everyone have their budget information with them?
I do not.
I do.
Okay. We do have Lee here, and we could just run through, just quickly,
Yeah.
in
Or is that in our boxes?
Yeah, it won't take long.
10 minutes, and this will just be an introduction to the highway budget. And just a word to the wise that Lee always tries to know, he's always padding.
Right, exactly.
Look at that sand budget with,
There goes another 1,000.
yeah.
So.
Okay,
All right.
ready to go.
Okay, so I did put in $2,000 more into gravel, and that's actually, the riprap comes out of that. And since we're supposed to be putting more and more riprap in,
Oh,
and,
okay,
whoops,
yeah, so you have the figures that I have.
That's not what I have either.
Yeah, not what I have.
2,000 more?
No, I have, it looks like, so the copy that I have, gravel,
Yep,
it looks like you had 21,
yes,
That's what I had, but yeah.
yep, that's what it was.
and that's what the budget was last year,
Yep, for 2017,
yeah.
and then for
No,
the budget for
2016, 21. Do I just not have,
Am I? Do you understand?
So I should,
This is what
21
I
for
was printed
17?
off.
Is that what yours is?
But
yeah, that's what I have.
That's what I have too.
And you're saying it's different from what these guys have?
well, I'm just wondering, this 2018
Yeah,
should be the column we're filling in, right?
okay,
Right.
all right, so when you said,
2,000 more, that would be for the budget of
okay,
FY18.
all right, okay,
So
Oh,
20
okay.
Because right now, we're in 2017,
Right.
right?
yes,
So you want 23,000?
So it'd be 23,000.
okay. Usually, I thought, I was thrown here because usually, maybe you have a little help, but usually we get all these figures plugged in already. Instead
Yeah,
of.
and other than working with Lee tonight, which is great, which I think we should, this other stuff ought to be correlated and filled in here. So anyway,
Yeah.
but work with Lee tonight while he's
Yep,
here.
yep, and then we can go.
Right.
Right, I mean, I just
Okay.
kept all these the same, and these
Okay.
are the only changes.
Okay, oh, okay,
Great,
all right.
great.
I mean, that's why they're all just,
Okay, other
Crossed
than
out.
wages and maintenance.
Yeah, right,
That's
I
up
wasn't-
for grabs.
yep, yep.
Okay.
Okay, so we have contract services, that's for, tree work, any of that kind of stuff. I just said up $1,000 to $3,000. Paving, I just wanted to explain that was the same at 95,000, but it was Upper Dummerston Road and Sugar House Road on the west side. Sugar House Road's the one by Maple Valley.
Yeah.
That little
Oh, yeah,
dead
right.
end. The same all the way down through until, salt, I believe that's salt. And just $500 more, so that would be.
18.5?
Yes,
Okay.
So was the paving changed?
no,
95?
No.
Okay.
Let's see the paving. Where's paving?
Paving,
it's retreatment,
retreatment.
95,000.
So that's staying the same?
yes. The operating costs, oh,
You got streetlights.
yeah, I didn't fill in any of those kind of things that I have really no control over. I figured you just take what they were last year, or
Okay,
the actual.
that's revenue. Okay,
Nothing particularly in the garage that you can think of you're gonna be needing out of normal this year in garage supplies or?
No,
Okay.
no, I think it's, operating costs, $500, to 17,000.
Which sheet's that on, Lee? On the-
Second page.
Second page.
Second line.
Final?
Sorry, Geraldine, I'm
That's okay.
sharing with you.
Starts with motor oil and grease at the top.
Equipment repairs, which would be the next one down, for, up $1,000 to 21,000. That's basically what I have. The, if you can remember in our contract for our gravel, when we signed it with Renards, it was first 5 years, we got it for $350, say.
$350, yeah.
And then the fifth or the sixth year would go up to, $425, I believe. I didn't look that up, but I think it's right
That
around
sounds
there.
right, yeah.
So next year, looking it up, this is still good
Okay,
at the 350.
okay. Mhm.
And we're on
The next
second
year,
page.
there's gonna probably be a increase in the actual gravel cost,
Okay,
but
And that Act 64 payment, the permit, that's been a long time since I've thought about that. Is that's not coming next year? Or we just don't know yet?
I can never, I don't, 18, wasn't it?
Yeah, see, I thought it should have gone in this year, but then it got postponed, so I think we ought to think about that being in there.
Yeah.
And,
That
What
was
was that,
2,000 or 2,400? 2,400, because you had the 2,000 one time and then the $400 or whatever yearly.
Yeah,
I'll try to look into
Will you
that.
look into
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
That's right.
quite a bit the first year, I remember, yeah.
Yeah, there's a $2,000 up front, I think, and then I think it's, but I'll follow up on that.
Okay.
But looking down through it, I think the diesel fuel is where we saved last year too, and we saved on our winter maintenance
Right.
as far as overtime.
Mhm.
And I'm hoping on the diesel fuel we save some more this year, but it is kind of nice to be there just in case. But if anyone, after looking at those numbers, if anyone has any concerns or where you think we should go down or up, feel free, but
Crushing gravel is,
I believe we have the price locked in
oh,
for
okay.
next year.
Okay,
At $350, which is super low,
yep.
but I think we're good for next year.
Who's that with now?
Now I think it's gonna be, is it Fuzzy Brothers? Is that what
Okay,
they
back
call
to who
themselves?
you were a couple years ago or something.
Yeah, they're down there now doing some stuff for Bernard.
Yeah.
But I'm not 1,000%.
Mm-hmm.
Changes a lot.
So one of the things I see here is chloride,
Yep.
and we spent, the actual in 16 was less than we budgeted, but you've now budgeted, or if you're budgeting the same as you did in 17, it's higher.
Yep.
This was
Yeah.
actually going back to our budget meeting last year.
Right.
There was a strong sentiment that we should increase the chloride because it better maintenance of the dirt roads.
Mhm,
And so
okay.
we actually
Authorized
had
that at that
bumped it up.
Yeah,
So-
okay.
And actually, I think I was a bigger proponent of that, because I think the way we had it priced, it was for 2.5 loads.
Yeah,
Exactly.
And you can't get a half load, so you might as well pay for the third load. And I think you used more chloride this year.
I
I
would
think
say
the
we-
chloride's
I would
nice
think-
So
treatment.
that's gonna come in pretty close to what you budgeted.
Yes, I think so.
Uh-huh.
Like Steve said, you can only get it in 4,500 gallons at a time.
Mhm.
So then it's, before, if we had the money, we'd overspend maybe a little in it, and then if we didn't, we'd underspend a little. But now we can buy the true,
By the true 3 loads. yeah.
right. And have it in the budget.
So I wasn't looking at paper, so I'm a little
Yep,
bit behind
yep.
here, but I wanna ask about, what, did you say something about gravel? Cause there's a discrepancy there in the actual, as opposed to budget for 16.
That's the, we bought a lot of riprap.
Oh, okay,
And instead of $350 a yard, it's $16
oh, okay.
a yard, so it doesn't really take a lot to, and that was in the spring after we had a few of the, issues on the different roads.
So what are you budgeting for 18?
That is, $23,000, up 2,000.
Because we won't be spending that much on the riprap, cause
we have some riprap in stock, from last year. And, I'm hoping we don't have to buy that much.
okay.
Even if we do some each year, it's better than,
Yeah, it's a little challenging not having the actual for 17, but, or imagining what the actual is gonna be.
right,
Yeah.
right. Right now in gravel, I think we're, I would say we're at probably like 17,000, we're pretty high.
Ready
The
for
other
the
thing
winter.
too, with Act 64 Lee, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you're gonna use a lot more riprap in the future
Right.
in any ditch that runs into a stream.
That's what they're really promoting.
Right.
ledge.
Right.
And, right, $2,000 by very much now.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if we may wanna think about a little more
Right.
there, but we'll see.
I like doing it in the spring, seeing what we have, how the winter
Right.
went. As long as we go into winter all set. You know, like last year worked really good. Didn't get any real. It was all positive. You know, we knew we were overspending the gravel, but it was going for. I mean, rock. It's not gonna go away. So.
And with culverts, do you have a sense of what culverts are gonna need attention, or is that just kind of
Yeah.
what happens during the year?
Yeah, it is what happens here, but we have an inventory with all of them, and they're ranked, which ones are poor, which ones are, this year we did a lot of the ones underneath the blacktop, where we're gonna pave next year. And then it does some throughout town.
I mean, again, I just see in 16, we totally overspent.
Right.
But then you budgeted the same for 17, so
Yep.
what's your budget for 18?
And-
Did you say 6?
And that was the Upper Dummerston Road. We put in some large culverts along there to get ready. If we couldn't have afforded that last year,
You would have done it.
then we could have gone up
Mhm.
in this one to be able to do those.
Okay.
And that was all spent, same thing, in the spring, after the winter and after we saw what was happening.
Okay, so, let's,
Lee, I don't mean to digress, but the mirror down by the covered bridge is a frequent issue. What happened? Did somebody hit it? Is it vandalism?
Yeah,
It is vandalism
Yeah.
because it's it's way out of kilter at this point.
Yeah, when I went through the other day, I thought I could see fine, so I didn't mess
Well,
with
no,
it
it's
again.
down like at 45 degrees, the whole pole.
Yeah, somebody mentioned that to me the other day, and when I went through, I didn't actually happen to notice. But, yeah, I'll look at that again.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, we have them in stock, so when they.
Yep.
okay, so we can look at this over the next week and fill in. As we've been getting more budgets in from, I've been putting them in that spreadsheet.
Oh,
that
good. I was gonna
sent.
ask about that. Okay.
And so I could email that around and,
Yeah, I just get nervous seeing everybody writing on their own sheets that there isn't one person, so I'm glad to hear that.
yes, well, I hope there's not just one person, but
Well, but there needs to be one person who's putting it into, in the Excel spreadsheet.
well, we actually all got the Excel spreadsheet, so it's probably what you do when you get done with work, is sit down and enter those figures in the Excel spreadsheet. That's what I do.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
that's why I was thinking, I don't wanna volunteer Maria, but I mean, if she could go through these and
yeah,
then we aren't all
okay.
fudging
I
through
would-
that.
Yeah, because I'm gonna be busy
If
writing
she
my
would do that.
town report, so if she wanted to.
And then she can put them in the sheet.
Yeah, that would be great.
So when we come in next Tuesday, are we working off these things, we're penciling in or sometimes penning in, or are we gonna, continue to, are we gonna get new sheets that we're all gonna work together off of? How does that go
We
normally for
could
budget?
get a new sheet. for
I think we're
next
ready for a
Tuesday.
new sheet.
I think
We've
it's
got
on
enough
it, yeah.
new numbers
Yeah,
in
we'll have,
there.
and several came in.
I mean, last year we had new sheets every time we came.
Yeah.
That's what I
It
would
was
hope we would
a
get.
lot of extra
Right,
paper.
right, I had to make 2 trips just to get here.
Cost of
Um,
business.
And are we gonna be getting actual for the current fiscal
Yes,
year at
I'll
some point?
ask
Yeah, we do need to get the year end.
Charlotte
Yeah.
to give us that information.
How goes it?
So if you,
Can I take that folder?
yes, yep, that'd be great. And if anything else comes in, I'll just check with you to get it added in.
If it comes to the select board email, you
Yeah.
get it anyway,
Yeah.
but if
Yeah.
it comes to Lori or Charlotte, we might
Yeah,
not get it.
or if someone hand
Hand
delivers.
is it, yeah.
Yeah. For next Tuesday, I've asked the listers to come in because we had questions about the reappraisal. Charlotte,
Thanks, Lee.
Thanks.
thank you, Lee. Charlotte, we'll have you back
I
again.
was hoping you were
You
gonna
could
stay to the
stay.
end. but-
Yeah, I was like,
Oh, I can leave now, yeah.
yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks, Lee.
Yep. I would, if you could just let me know when you want to finalize that, because I would like to kind of throw my opinions in. There's gonna be a lot of changes to the budget.
Finalize what part of the budget?
The highway.
Okay.
We'll invite you back.
We'll
All right.
You're invited every week, actually.
Months or anything.
He says when we start cutting his budget, he'd
Right.
like us to invite him back.
Let's see. And we asked Charlotte to come in. Well, she'll be there with a lister, so that she'll stay on to, we want to talk about hours for the treasurer. She's going,
Were you gonna have a conversation with her beforehand, though? Kind of to see how she was doing? Is that what I'm remembering we talked about last time?
The zoning administrator, someone
Oh,
was going to have
okay.
a talk with the zoning administrator. Let's see. So that's what's on tap for next Tuesday so far.
So let's see, hopefully we would have the year-end figures. What was our surplus last year? I forgot.
It was something like 82, 83,000.
We're on a calendar year?
No.
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 So how do we get actuals for 17?
I'll ask Charlotte.
We'd get year to date
Yeah,
is what
so
we'd
it'll
get,
be
you-
year to date.
not actual.
We know what we had left over in July
Yeah,
from
so
last year.
We may be able to get that figure soon.
And then we would have year-to-date figures, but I don't know if they help us much anyway.
No, only if, we're way out of whack.
Way out of
on
whack,
something.
yeah,
And
yeah.
sometimes we're out of whack because of the seasonality of
Okay, yeah.
spending on some issues.
Was that 82 mainly from winter maintenance? last
No,
year?
that was, that might be part of this coming
I see.
year's
So you're
surplus. It was more delinquent tax,
Okay.
being caught up. So that was our.
So you're saying it's not so much that we need the actuals for fiscal year 17, because it would only be year to date that we would have.
Yes.
Right.
But what we need is what the surplus was from 16.
Right.
So that we know our starting point. We have a better
We-
sense of our starting point for 18?
No,
No.
we know what our surplus was, and it
Right.
was
Okay.
just, because it was mostly from delinquent tax collections.
Okay,
That just lowered the tax rate for, this current year that we're in.
Do we know the surplus from the last year?
That's something that I'll look into.
Yeah, we should be able to get
Yeah.
that now.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be-
Yes,
That
and
would,
then
that
we
would
can-
help us
Yeah,
a
we can-
little.
You can begin to look at revenue and
Right.
revenue projections and make projections and go from there.
good.
So, you all got a notice of the Board of Civil Authority hearing.
Mhm.
This is to meet, to hear grievances by parties that are aggrieved by the action of the Board of Listers, and they've filed timely written grievances with the town clerk. There are two different hearings that we'll have. It's Wednesday, the 14th of December. And there's also the vote on Vernon leaving the school district on the 13th. And we're going to be asked to, that would be the date that we have a
Work session.
budget work session. but we're going to be asked to help with counting ballots and the vote. Polls won't close till 7, so we could go ahead and meet, you know, at 5:30. We might be able to wrap it up by 7. And then those who have signed up to help count votes could go ahead. So I'm inclined to keep our regular schedule, meet on the 13th. Okay, great.
And then what's our role with this on the 14th?
Come to the meeting.
Yeah,
Be there.
yeah,
Hear the-
We need to be there.
I can explain that to you later.
Okay,
Yeah.
but so we have meeting on the 13th and on the 14th?
Yes.
Okay.
So, let's see, so that's all I have. Anyone have any other business?
No, I'd move to adjourn if that was agreeable.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.